You're with Onga TV and we're at Central Park, Waipakarau. Privileged to be recording the 2024 Ross Shield tournament being played at Central Park. On the second day today, we're privileged to have David Schaw with us, past Ross Shield player, past Central Hawke's Bay Ross Shield selector and coach, past Hawke's Bay Ross Shield selector and coach, Hawke's Bay Ross Shield life member, Hawke's Bay Academy coach. David, thanks so much for giving us your time this morning to have a little bit of a chat about your past Ross Shield history.
Yeah, well, thanks for asking. I'm probably a little bit nervous, but when it comes to Ross Shield, I give anything to talk about it, and it's close to my heart, and I have had some brilliant years with Ross Shield.
For sure. Before we get on to Ross Shield proper, can you give us an idea of what your early days, or what your early days of playing rugby, probably from the backyard to playing for the Onga school, your Onga primary school?
Oh, well, all I can remember is the backyard days were getting thumped by Big Brother and those sort of things, and every tackle everything was pretty full on, and then going through to Onga school, we were lucky because Onga school had people that loved the game of rugby teaching us, the Tony Drillions and co.
Yeah.
And we always played schools like Tikakino and Sherwood and those sort of things. They were really good and very competitive.
Yeah, I remember the annual clash for the Baker Cup.
Yep.
Originally between Tico and then later on Sherwood. Getting back to the early days, I don't know about being beaten up by the Big Brother. I think the Big Brother might have been a little bit scared of his fiery younger brother, but no, we had some good backyard tussles out between heavies, and
we used to do it, and even it went right through to the late teens, and we used to, just to try and get fit, we played in our waterproof gear, leggings and raincoat.
Exactly.
And
yeah. So moving on, you played rugby at Central Park here, representing Onga, coming up through the years, and then finally get to the Ross Shield age and selection for Central Hawke's Bay Ross Shield.
Yeah, back in the days when you were selected, when I was selected in '66, it wasn't about coaches coming and selecting boys on the Saturday. Your schools had to nominate players.
Okay, yeah.
So I was really lucky enough that Tony Drillion was with Onga School. He nominated me for that, and then of course we were watched after that on our Saturday morning rugby. And when I got the call to say that I'd been selected to go in the wider squad, it was pretty exciting.
Yeah. So okay, at the beginning of the season, they nominated.
They would nominate boys from those schools, from every Central Hawke's Bay school.
Okay, yeah. Were you the only nomination from the Onga school?
Yes, I was. Yeah,
okay.
I was.
So you were duly selected in the side, and the tournament was being held in Wairoa that year. What were your thoughts of after being selected, having to go away from mum and dad and travel all the way up to Wairoa? Probably your first big trip.
It was a big trip, and look, to be honest with you, I can't remember what it was like to be going away from home, but I was pretty excited about the Ross Shield, and it was a big lead up. It was a little bit different to what we have today. Back then, the team was selected, and a week before the Ross Shield tournament, we all got together and we went into the Waipawa primary school, and we trained there in the afternoon and went to school in the mornings, and I can't remember, but we did not do much schoolwork, but like I said yesterday, we always had that dental clinic looking at us, and we never ever went near it.
The murder house.
Yeah, that's right. And then once we did that, and I thought about it last night, I think there was an old referee's room that we got weighed in down as you come into Central Park.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anyway, we got weighed there on the day that we were to go that morning. And of course then we were taken down to the railway station where we all met and went to Wairoa by rail car. And of course Danny were on the rail car already. And we picked up Napier and Hastings. And then it was a big trip to Wairoa.
Just prior to that, were there any problems with weigh-ins for any of the boys?
No, there were no problems with weigh-ins whatsoever. No.
Okay, so then you had your big trip to Wairoa. Danny were on the train, and I presume you picked up Napier and Hastings on the...
Yeah, no, we picked up Napier and Hastings, which was just Napier and Hastings then.
Yes.
And then we got to Wairoa, and of course we go through the weigh-in again.
Oh,
and,
okay.
That was the... In other words, the coaches were just
official.
doing it for themselves,
yes.
just to be sure of it. They didn't want to get up there then have to send anyone
Yeah.
home. But yeah, we went through our weigh-in up there, and of course Wairoa being the host union, they nominate somebody to do the weigh-in, and they usually have a policeman there or something like that to watch.
Still continues today.
Yeah. So we did that, and then of course we were all sent to our billets, which we were all billeted in those days. And that was brilliant. That was, we were billeted in pairs.
Yeah, the billeting, was a highlight for a lot of young people, and I think you alluded to yesterday that right up until years later you kept in touch with your billets.
Yes, I did. Mr. and Mrs. Wilson, they were, and we were lucky. I was billeted with Malcolm Schaw, our captain, well, the late Malcolm Schaw. Malcolm was killed in a car accident when he was about 17. But they were fantastic people, and like I said to you, they owned the shop at the grounds, and Malcolm and I got free ice creams and lollies and all those sort of things. So we thought that was pretty good at that age.
So you were billeted with Malcolm Schaw from Otani?
Yeah, Malcolm was.
Was that Otani?
Malcolm was from Otani. An outstanding loose forward player. He was brilliant, and Malcolm. He made me laugh because we sort of sat together going up on the rail car and all this, so it was good that we got billeted together. And Malcolm, all the way, I'm bloody hungry, you know.
This is Malcolm's home.
Yeah, and of course then we still had to go through weigh-ins.
Of course, so you were watching.
But I got sick of this, bloody hungry, I'm bloody hungry. And anyway, that night we go back to the Wilsons, and they just say, I'll sit at the table, and of course Mrs. Wilson dished up, and of course Malcolm received his pretty well straight away. And we had curried sausages actually. I've never ever forgotten it. And Malcolm just picked up his knife and fork and straight into it, and of course
you'd had it drummed into
I'd had it drummed into me, for a long time of things not to do. And anyway, it was don't start eating till everybody sits down.
This is from your mum and dad.
That's right. That's right. And anyway, Malcolm starts eating, so I don't know why, but I feel I should take control of this. And I give him a boot under the table. Yeah. And he just looked at me and kept going, so I gave him another one, and he must have felt it. And he said, "What are you kicking me for?" You know. And I thought, well, bugger, I've just got to leave this now. Let him go. Yeah. So, but those are the sort of things that you really remember.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and that year we were, we had some good players, but we were always competing against the full Hastings and Napier sides, and we had guys like Reggie Hill and Bobby Bruce, and there was a number of players that were good players.
Two players you've named there, they'd be hard doers as well.
Oh gosh, yes, yeah.
So can you remember any of your games and whether?
Yeah, I do.
Were you well beaten or did you compete?
No, we were always competitive, and that's something I'll say about Central and Danny Verk and Wairoa. Even though we haven't got the numbers that Hastings and Napier have got, we still don't give up. We don't chuck the towel, and it's really good. So yeah, I do. And in fact, that year in Wairoa, it had been quite dry, and of course the ground was quite hard at Lambton Square.
Yeah, Lambton Square, you were playing.
Square, with the big grandstand in it, and so Yeah, but that was a great tournament. And when you go away to places like Wairau and that, they just turn it on, you know. That's brilliant.
You were saying the whole town shut down for the
Later on in years.
later
yeah,
on in years,
yeah,
that's right,
yeah,
when you were coaching.
yeah.
Okay, so standout players in that Ross Shield team, that Central Ross Shield team of that year.
Oh, Reggie Hill.
Hill.
Reggie Hill was, he made the Hawke's Bay side.
Okay, where was Reggie playing?
Reggie played it. We had Reggie at first five.
Yeah.
He dictated play and everything, and whenever we could, we were in a position that we always, like next to your goal line, we always threw over the back of the line out, and Reggie would take the ball there, and he was unstoppable. He was
Okay,
he was
I remember
brilliant.
Reggie. Yeah.
Reggie was probably the only one that we were always worried about weight-wise, but he was always going to make it.
Yeah. So you had that tournament. Who was the captain of that side?
Malcolm Shield.
Oh, Malcolm
Yeah,
was captain.
Malcolm was our captain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the very next year, Central went on to win the Ross Shield in 1967.
That's correct. Yeah, Central won it. I'm trying to think where that tournament was. I can't remember. That might have been in Hastings. I'm not too sure.
Okay.
But yeah, Central went on and won it that year.
Were there any second year players, do you know, that went
Not
on?
that I can remember, no. Those times they were pretty well all Form 2 boys. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So I think that, just going back, I think that is the last time Central won that Shield.
Yes, I think you're right.
yes,
Yeah, I think you're right. And they won it outright.
Yeah.
62 prior to that, they'd won it outright here at Central Park. And there was guys like, remember Kingy Renata?
Yes. Yeah.
He was another Reggie Hill type player. And I think Kingy actually broke his leg in that tournament, but Central went on to win it that year. So your Ross Shield playing days came to an end in '66.
Well, not really, because in '66 they used to pick the south side.
Thank you. Yeah.
And that was pretty neat, because Kel Tremaine picked the south side. I can't remember who picked the north side. I think it was another Hawke's Bay player, and I'm just not too sure. But and that's north-south played after the tournament.
In Wairau.
In Wairau.
Okay.
And and then of course the Hawke's Bay side was named, and they went on and played a couple of games like Property Bay and.
Okay, so the Hawke's Bay side was selected from the north after the north-south game?
No, it was picked, and then they picked the north-south team.
So the Hawke's Bay players
had been taken out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Can you remember the result of that north-south game?
You've got me there, but I was on the south side, so I think they won.
Yeah, right. That'll do.
Yeah.
That'll do.
Yeah.
So then you went on to play club rugby. You played club rugby for Ongatiko, or college first 15 rugby?
No, I couldn't make the college first 15, and so I probably sulked a little bit, and then went and played for Ongatiko juniors.
I remember you getting...
Was it the juniors or...?
Yes, I remember you, I think it might have been third grade initially.
Third grade, that's correct.
Yeah, I think there might have been a couple of you got dispensation.
That's right.
To play for Ongatiko whilst you're still at college.
That's right.
And then Ongatiko had a very good side at that time, and it was competitively, I think Roger Crystal was the coach.
Yeah, if I remember, Roger was our first coach. And actually the college first 15 was in that competition too at that time.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But Roger coached us for a number of years.
Yeah, very good
very
coach.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, a very good rugby player.
And a very good rugby player himself, dynamic halfback, played for Central, and I'm sure he had a run for Hawke's Bay.
I think he did. I was going through some Hawke's Bay stuff not so long ago, but I know he was in the wider squad. Yeah. Or he played for the Hawke's Bay. Yeah. Back with Michael Hardy and.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And then you went on. You progressed there from the third grade into the Ongatiko junior side, which was also a very good side, and was the first Ongatiko team to win a championship the year escapes me, but it did go on to win a championship.
Yeah, I
well
can't
through
remember the year either, but I do remember our games were sort of Tikakino and Onga, weren't they? Or were they all
we
at Onga?
played alternate.
Yes.
At
But I do remember the showers at Onga, the big concrete bath that you stood in, and
And more often than not, you got a shock just to
that's right.
wait
Yeah,
yourself.
no one wanted to turn them on because you'd always get a shock. Yeah, that's right.
So then you progressed from junior rugby to senior club rugby, and you moved to Takapau and joined the Takapau club over there. And what are your memories of playing for that
I
club?
really remember some good days with Takapau. We won a championship too, didn't we?
You may be right. I'm
out
not too
here
sure.
on Central Park, actually. We beat High School Old Boys in a final, and I remember that very well. But no, Takapau brings back a lot of memories, and a lot of good players went through there. And
Oh, there were.
yeah, you go back and look at players like Tane Cooper, Daryl Innes.
Yep.
Real hard men, Waddy Marsh, and the Gary Thompsons, Malcolm Rosses, and a lot
Paul
of those
Jensen,
have passed
yep,
by now.
yep.
Yeah, Paul Jensen. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they certainly were good times, and it's great to see the Takapau club still going today. And
Yes,
thanks to the
yeah.
Taylors, have had a big influence out there in keeping that club going, which is great to see.
Yeah.
So you gave up senior rugby, marriage probably came along, and then children, and then you got back into the Ross Shield by...
Marriage and children did come along, but I was rung up. Takapau was short one day. I was rung up, and they said, "Oh, we're playing Poho. Can you play?" And of course, I went out to Poho and played, and I hadn't played for some time. And of course, I went to tackle a guy and got the knee and the jaw, both sides of my jaw broken, all wired up for 6 weeks, sucked through a straw, and did a lambing beat. So
I remember that.
It's a good way of losing weight.
Yes.
But then sort of I started following Jonathan with his rugby, and and then of course I thought, well, if I'm going to follow him, I may as well do some coaching.
So tell me about the lead up to your applying for. Did you have to apply for the coach's job of the Central Hawke's Bay Ross Shield side?
Yes, you did. You did. I'd coached sort of through the age groups up to the Ross
Up to
Shield, and we'd had some good years too. We'd beaten Hastings and all that sort of thing, which was pretty exciting. And then Ross Shield selected coaches, and that were pretty hard to come by. You know, sort of people didn't want to make a commitment, so.
And it was a commitment.
It was a big commitment, and so I decided to do it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's sort of, once you do it, it gets in the blood.
Can you remember how many seasons you were?
It was either
coaching?
7 or 8.
For Central?
For Central, that I did the Ross Shield. It was 8 for Hawke's Bay.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and though our first year, I had Brian Buxton as our assistant coach, and that was in Taupo.
That's right.
And I've never forgotten it. The first
year of bowler.
The year of bowler, that's correct. And we did quite well that year. We stood our ground, and I think we come midway in the competition. And anyway, we had a real good group of parents.
Yes.
I probably shouldn't say what I'm going to say. But anyway, all the parents said, "Where do we go tonight?" So Brian and I said, "Back to our unit." And we were about 20 metres from a bottle store. And these parents, they drank. They drank. And I said to Brian, "We're running out." He said, "Well, we better go and get some more."
You were paying, I presume? Or?
I don't know who paid, but we
we
thought when we got back to Central that we were going to get a big telling off because the bill would come back here, but everything was pretty good.
Yeah.
So
someone had sorted it out.
Yeah, someone had sorted it, but we had a brilliant. Well, most years you did have a great group of parents, you know, And like you said, we come back with Cyclone Bowler, and we were coming around a roundabout in Hastings, and the bus had a car, and that sort of gave everybody a fright.
Yeah.
And on our way between Hastings and Central, Brian had to go and actually ask the driver to slow down. He was either in shock or something had gone wrong. But so that was it.
Right. So then, after 8 or so seasons with Central, coaching with Central, you moved on and took on the selector's job for the Hawke's Bay Ross Shield team.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of intentions of doing that, but we were actually in Dannyverk at the time, and a guy by the name of Mike Coombs, who put a lot of time into rugby, well, the late Mike Coombs, approached me and said, I'd like to see you stand for Hawke's Bay. And I had to really think about it, because I knew it was going to be another few years of a lot of commitment. And we were worried at the time, because the way the Hawke's Bay side was getting selected was by the winning side of the tournament. They didn't want to change a lot of players. And of course, once Mike and I sat down, we felt that there were a lot of players missing out. So anyway, yes, I took that on. Well, I applied for it, and we were lucky to get it. So I took Mike as the manager. And myself, and then later on I had to get an assistant to help me, which was Trevor True. And he had also took over the coaching of the Central side, which I think he did that for about 3 to 4 years. And he stayed with me with the Hawke's Bay side as well. So, and you know, it was all about having a good team around you, and I couldn't have asked for a better team.
No.
I mean, Mike did a lot of good work, and Trev was just outstanding, you know.
So how long was that tenure with the Hawke's?
That was 8 years. Eight years with Hawke's Bay. And in that time we had some real good teams. I would say, I'm just trying to think of my first year, I think it was Wairau. I can't remember the year. But anyway, I would have to say that would be the best tournament I have ever been to.
As far as being run?
It was being run, and most tournaments are very well run, but the way the town supported it. It was, Wairau were very lucky. They weren't lucky, they were a good side. And they got into the final with Hastings East.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just trying to think, did they draw it or did they win it? I can't really remember that. But the whole town shut down. You could have wanted to go to a shop in Wairau, and you wouldn't have got in.
Lambton Square would have been packed.
Square was packed, and the noise. I have never heard anything like it. And of course, that was the first naming of our Hawke's Bay side.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And I would say, just going back to them, we picked about 8 or 9 Wairau boys, which had never happened before.
No.
They had good players, you know, the Aidan Clarks, Lucas Paku, Dion Savage,
Somerville.
Yes, Somerville. Well, Somerville got injured in the first game.
Okay.
I'm sure this is the same year. Somerville, we're talking about not Greg.
No, the brother.
Yes. Anyway, he hurt his shoulder, but you could see so much potential in that player. I got a bit of flack, but I named him player of the tournament.
Yes.
But
I thought that was the case.
Yes, but you could see so much potential in that boy. It was just amazing.
Okay, so this is 8 years of Hawke's Bay selector coaching. After 8 years of selector coach in Central Hawke's Bay, that's 16 years of commitment to Ross Shield.
Yeah, that's right. But you know, I wouldn't change that for anything. I look back and we had some wonderful times. We had a South Island tour. We had a North Island tour. We went right up and played at North Harbour, and a lot of this goes back to Mike Coombs. You know, I mean, he was a great organiser.
And you had the support of the Ross Shield Committee, and
yeah, we did, which was Errol Hance, Mike Taff, and of course Bill Matheson in those days.
What a team!
Oh, what a team! Yeah, they just, well, they've done so much for Ross Shield. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
yeah, and they still play parts in it. You know, if you wanted a bit of advice about Ross Shield, go and see Mike and Errol.
Yeah. So your highlights of your coaching, selected coaching days of Hawke's Bay, have you got anything that particularly stands out, selection-wise, or just achievement by the team?
Oh, I think, there are highlights, and they're to be shared by the three of us, Trevor and Mike, but the South Island tour was something pretty special. We went down there and we beat some good teams. We lost to Mid Canterbury.
I was looking at a map in your book there. You actually went right down to the deep south. And,
yeah, we did.
So just talk us through what games you played and where that took you.
Well, if I remember correctly, we played Mid Canterbury, Canterbury, Otago, and we played another game. I'm just unsure of the fourth game. But, you know, to raise funds for that trip was going to be a big job. And I remember going into a place in Hastings, and I mentioned what it was for, what we planned on doing, and what the money was, what was going to happen to the money. And the chap didn't hesitate, and he just wrote a $7,000 cheque then.
What a great start to your fundraising.
Oh, and then we come back to Central Hawke's Bay and we got a $10,000 one.
Yeah.
So, and then once we had that together, we started to talk to a few other people, and people got right behind us. And also the boys raised money, and I think I mentioned it to you yesterday. We had a young boy from Puerto. He'd never been out of Puerto, or he's been to his Ross Shield games, and that's it.
Yeah.
And he came up with $1,000.
Yeah.
You know, and we put all the boys' money to one side, and we made sure that was to give them a good time.
Okay. Yeah.
And they got rides on the shot over jet and different things like that. Yeah.
Something. Yeah, they'll never forget.
No, they won't.
What was your win-loss ratio down there?
We won 3 and lost 1, but the Mid Canterbury one was the one we lost. And I remember quite clearly we had to have a bit of a discussion about that game beforehand when the boys turned up, because there was rules in place of weight ranges and ages and everything. And a lot of these boys drove themselves to the game. And I don't know, but I think some of them even had children.
Yeah,
and you know, little kiddies on the and so we had to have a big discussion about that. We had to sort of include parents in on it, you know, whether they wanted their boys to play the game.
So you did consider maybe not playing the game.
We had to, and there was something taken to the New Zealand Rugby Union through that.
Okay,
and I can't remember what the result was, but it should. But everybody said, look, we've come this far, let's get out and play it. And
the boys were keen.
The boys were keen, and in the last 20 minutes, our boys started to get on top of them. And
so. I talk about boys, you refer to the teams as boys, and now it's boys and girls. And look, there's up to 20 across the tournament here in 2024 in Central Hawke's Bay. I mean, it's tremendous. The opportunity for girls rugby now is right up there, isn't it?
Well, I think it's brilliant. I watch it on TV. Do you?
I certainly do.
It's as important to me as the All Blacks. And I'll tell you what, in this tournament here, there's a couple of girls there that if they put their minds to it, they'll go all the way.
Yeah. I think there'll be several girls out there will get representative honours anyway.
I'm sure there will be. Yeah, but like you said, 20 girls, that's amazing.
Yeah, tremendous,
it really is.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
So that's after these 8 years, you were rewarded with life membership of the Hawke's Bay Ross Shield, and you joined the Bill Mathesons, Mike Coombs, Mike
Yeah,
Taft.
and something I'm really proud of, because
Oh,
to
great
be
achievement.
with Bill Matheson, Mike Coombs, and Errol Hance and Mike Taft, I mean, it's just something pretty special. And
Oh, for sure.
I wasn't expecting it, and you know, I had an offsider with me, Trevor True, who probably deserves that as well. And it's just one way that it went over the year. And but you know, I've always said, if you do something, get a good team around you, and
Yep.
you'll benefit from it. But we had lots of good times, and you know, lots of good boys, like good captains, good rugby brains. And I think if I had to pick one, it would be Ryan Symes from Wairau. And
Ryan Symes.
oh, there's some things I could tell you about some of these Wairau boys. Ryan, his family were fishing people at Mahi, and I saw him eating some crayfish one day, and he had a full crayfish in his bag. I said, if I don't get some of that, you won't be playing or captain in the next game. And he looked at me. I thought, oh, I'll tell you what, I had crayfish coming out of my ears, and it was brilliant.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened with another boy with mellow puffs when I was doing Central. He had mellow puffs in his bag, and I said, I want mellow puffs. I got mellow puffs all the time. It was brilliant.
They wouldn't be allowed mellow puffs in their
No,
bag
they wouldn't.
today.
No, they wouldn't. That's why I'm like I am now.
So, have you got an embarrassing moment that you can recall throughout your years of Ross
Yeah.
Shield?
Yeah, I have, and I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up. While being Hawke's Bay selector, you're obviously put in front of the scales for the boys to
Yes.
to get over for their weight range.
Yes, yeah.
And like I said earlier, you have a policeman standing beside you.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in Wairau again, the things that happened in Wairau, you know. I had to put 2 Central Hawke's Bay boys out. And
Okay.
they were too far over. I mean, the bar just went straight up and hit the
Yes.
bar. And that's probably one of the saddest moments I've had.
And I think one might have been your uncle's son.
I wasn't going to mention that, but yeah.
But yeah,
They understood, and
Yep.
that's the rules, and that's what Ross Shield is
Yeah.
about. And yeah,
they've changed the weight now from when you were involved.
yeah, there's quite a bit changed. I think is it 51 kilos?
Yeah, I'm just not up with the
No,
play on that.
no, it might be higher than
Yeah.
that. But anyway,
56, I think.
yes, and then of course I think Central, Danny Verk and Wairau allowed
yeah,
with 2 players. Is that correct?
yeah, as
by,
I understand
by 2
it.
kilos.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think they've had to do something like that. But it's where do we go from here? We can't keep having high scores like we did yesterday. And I think it's time that something does get addressed, just to keep Ross Shield alive.
And keep all teams involved.
We've got to keep all teams involved, and
Because it's so good for the communities. I mean, we say it time and time again, but I came into the main street this morning of Waipaca and it's buzzing.
it is.
And that was, to me, that's great. And it's just the injection that these communities need occasionally. And
See boys walking down there with those
Yes.
little caps on.
Yes.
You know, it's pretty exciting.
yeah,
Eh?
you didn't bring your cap.
No, well, I haven't got my cap, unfortunately.
Oh,
I put it with my dad
you
when he
did.
passed, which was
Yeah.
felt good at the time, but
Yeah.
I wish I had it. Yeah,
That's correct.
yeah.
So moving on from that, you've had sons playing rugby, and now you've got grandsons playing,
Yeah.
or grandson.
Yeah. Well, Joe made Ross Shield,
Yeah,
and of course Robbie made Ross
Yeah.
Shield, and
Yeah.
Joe's oldest boy Charlie was probably a real sitter for the COVID year, which Ross Shield didn't happen. And Robbie's got a son playing this year for Hastings
East, young
East.
George.
Hastings East,
Yeah,
not Central.
yeah. I did say that.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so now
but
you get an opportunity to sit back and relax and watch them. But even after Ross Shield, you went on and you became a coach for the first Hawke's Bay Academy side.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, so well, that was when we sold the farm and we shifted to Taupo, and I got a call from, I think it was Richard Hunt, and that was to set up the academy and start the academy, and that was good because we took the academy on a tour as well.
Yeah, okay.
And we had some good boys, but it was to set up to really lift the level of Hawke's Bay rugby.
Yes, not
And,
like
that was
it yeah.
no, it was back in the times once the Hurricanes started, and
Yes.
just after the Vikings and
Yep.
all those sort of things. And we set out. We had a couple of meetings with farmers and things like that to try and promote the academy because we wanted to be the strongest academy in the Hurricanes franchise.
Yep.
And yeah, we had some real good boys that went on and played for Hawke's Bay, and a couple of boys left the area and played a couple of games in other provinces.
Mm-hmm.
So
So it really worked, it did its job, and now it still continues, as I understand it.
yeah, but I think it could be at a higher level. I think it needs stepping up. I think
Yep.
you know, it's at the stage now. It should be no different to how you bring players into your super side.
Mm-hmm.
You should be able to go out, and if you see a player somewhere, you should offer him something to come and play in the Hawke's Bay Rugby Academy. And
Yeah.
the only thing I've got against it is we don't see people going out and watching people play like in Wairau, Dannyville,
Yes.
and Central. Central's probably all right because it's close to Hawke's Bay,
Yeah.
but Wairau and Dannyville, you need people watching some of those young boys.
Yeah, not like you used to have that. didn't
No,
you? You know,
no, and it's there's nothing like watching them play the game.
No. Over the years, as Ross Shield selector, Hawke's Bay Ross Shield selector, and naming, your job was to name players of the tournament. Is there anyone in particular that stands out to you that you're really proud of what he's achieved?
Yeah, there is. Well, there's probably two or three.
Yeah, yeah. Well, then name those.
But one that I really was impressed with was a 5/8, and when you can see a young kiddie that can get a team out of trouble that's going backwards, and also play the game really well that's going forward, was Richard Buckman from Central.
Yep, the Barracuda.
Yeah, the Barracuda.
Yeah.
And I don't think we saw the best of him when he played provincial rugby.
Mm-hmm.
I think he should have been a 5/8. Another boy that I had a lot of time for was Ryan Symes from Wairau.
Mm-hmm.
He was an outstanding boy. Do you remember another boy from Wairau, Lucas Paku?
Okay.
He was a good
Yeah.
boy. Yeah, look, I would say it would have been that year that we picked those players, the better players we had, when we picked that number from Wairau. That tournament was just something special.
Yeah, well, I can think of other, like I remember Izzy Dagg out here on Central Park.
Israel Dagg, yeah.
Matt Berquist was another one that in your time was named player of the tournament. He went on to be a very good 5/8, and he won that playing for Central up at Nelson Park, Hastings, I believe.
It was. He was very similar, probably, but Buckman probably just had that little bit of a flair to him, and he was a niggly little fella. You know, he. But Matt was a good player.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dan
I'll
Wang.
tell you another one too. Not while I wasn't coaching Hawke's Bay. It was before that. Was Danny Lee.
Oh yes, you had Danny Lee.
He was an
yeah.
outstanding
Yeah,
player
yeah.
that went through. Yeah. No, I didn't have him.
No,
But,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Hey, well, I think that sums it up pretty well. It's been an enlightening interview, and it's going to be recorded now forever and a day, and there's some interesting history and interesting stats in there. And just, yeah, congratulations and well done on what you've achieved.
Oh, thanks. I would like to say, just while we're here, congratulations to Central. I think they've turned on a fantastic tournament. And just to look at the ground and everything, it's a picture, and everyone that's on the committee, they're enthusiastic, and it's absolutely
And
brilliant.
that's all you ask for, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I think they've done a top job.